Hey everybody, Happy New Year's. Welcome to my show. Welcome to the first episode of Frames of Mind. This is a show where storytelling meets insight, where we meet the minds in entertainment. So, on my show, this is a film and TV related talk show where I will be interviewing different people from the entertainment industry. And it is week one here at UCI, and so as we all get used to our new schedules, our new classes, and also the new year, I'm just so excited to be here with you guys. Here during week one, we're all having those syllabus days, learning what these classes are like and what to expect in the upcoming quarter. So here's a sort of syllabus day for Frames of Mind. Again, I'm your host, Jorgie, and I'm a second year college student here at UCI. On the show, I'm aiming to share people's stories so you can learn about the many different ways that people enter the industry. There is no one specific path, and it's never too late to pursue your goals. For example, someday I hope to be behind the camera, and I hope to be a producer or a director. I've actually been a film journalist for the last 3 years. I am a member of Gallica, which is the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics, and also I'm a member of the HCA, which is the Hollywood Creative Alliance, formerly known as the Hollywood Critics Association, which recently, the Astro Awards was about a month ago. The week before finals week, actually the week of finals week, I believe it was Saturday or Sunday, I went to that, and then it was my first award show ever, and so I had a blast getting to celebrate film and to see some of the stars of the awards contenders in person. It was an amazing experience. But right after that, I did come back to my on-campus apartment at UCI, and I studied till like 3 in the morning for finals. It was a lot. But yeah, so again, syllabus day, I just wanted to share my story with you guys before we dive into the amazing guests that I'll have these next 11 weeks. So, a little bit about me. I grew up a major Star Wars nerd. I was obsessed with the Star Wars movies as a kid. I'd replay Attack of the Clones every single day. I would skip forward to the Geonosis fight scene, or the beginning of that whole third act, really, in the arena, and I'd watch that every single day. I'm also a big comic book fan. I love comic book movies, as basic as that might be. When I was a teenager, I would read DC Comics all the time, and I was a big fan of the Arrowverse. I don't know if you guys uh, are into that, but when that was on the CW with like Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, things like that, Legends of Tomorrow, my favorites were Batwoman and Black Lightning, and I miss those shows every day. I wish I could talk about those shows on here. Maybe one of these quarters I'll do like a revisiting the Arrowverse so I can just talk about them. But I can't wait to see what happens with DC next with James Gunn bringing back Superman and the DCU this summer. So a little bit more about me. Like I said, I've been a film journalist for the last 3 years, and it kind of started in the most random and bizarre way, I want to say, because I'm a second year student at UCI, but my college experience actually started way back in 2018, which the math does not add up on that, right? So I was a freshman in 2018, and I went on a medical leave because of migraines and like chronic headaches, literally only 1 quarter into my college career. So I did the fall quarter, and then in about February, so like I only did 1 month of what is the winter quarter right now, and then I had to withdraw. And so after like 5 years of doctor's appointments and seeing every specialist under the sun, I finally was able to get some relief. And last year in 2023, I started back up again. And then this year is my second year back at UCI. And so during that time away from school, in 2019, my friend Ron, who I've known since I want to say 2017 or 2018, around that time, he started an entertainment outlet called POCculture.com, which which is a website that highlights diversity in entertainment and media. And so for I want to say about a year or two, I would bug him every now and then. I'd be like, "Hey Ron, let me write for you. Hey Ron, let me write for you." And so eventually he did end up saying yes one of those times. And he did say yes in the past. He was like, "Write something for me," but I didn't think he was serious. And so I didn't do it that time. But eventually he was like, "Hey, do you want to write some comic book reviews?" And so that's actually how I got my start. I wrote about Star Wars comics for like a good all of 2021, from like I started in about February till November. But in the summer of 2021, there was a crossover event called the War of the Bounty Hunters, which was a big thing with like all the different lines they had going on, because they had like Star Wars and Dr. Aphra and Darth Vader and the Bounty Hunters line also. And then there was a bunch of like one shots, and I read everything and I covered like at least one a week. It was a lot. And because I had a couple years off from university, my writing skills were just not really there. Like I almost forgot how to write. I did forget how to write, to be completely brutally honest. And so writing these reviews was how I got to practice the writing muscle again, remember how to write, and it was a great experience. And after the War of the Bounty Hunters had concluded, my friend Ron, who is my editor and founder of POC Culture, he was like, "Hey Georgie, do you want to try your first film review?" And I never really considered the idea of it until that point. I was really nervous and I said, "Yes, sure. Like, how can I say no?" So my first film screening was Tick Tick Boom, which was directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda, starring Andrew Garfield. It was a Netflix feature, I believe. And it was a surreal experience because I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and I thought I was just going to like a regular screening, like at an AMC or something. I thought I was just gonna be like a nonchalant thing, you know. But it ended up being the like actual world premiere of Tick Tick Boom at AFI Fest, which was very nerve wracking, and I found out the night before. So right away I booked it to Burlington with my mom, and we were shopping for me to get a suit for like, I want to say like an hour, 2 hours, something. We didn't get home till like 11:30 or close to midnight or something. And I spent the whole night getting ready. I was so nervous but excited at the same time. And so next thing you know, I like got all my clothes ready. I got like myself ready, I guess, and I was just like ready to go to bed. And at this point, it's like 3 or 4 in the morning, actually. And that was also the day that the Supergirl series finale was airing, and so the night before the premiere, it had aired, and I knew the next day that I was not gonna have time to watch that show. And like I said, I was a big fan of the Arrowverse. Like during my time away from school, that was really like my best friend. I would watch it every single week because yeah. And so I was like, I can't go to sleep without watching this. So next thing you know, it's like 5:30 in the morning, and I'm just on the couch like sobbing about this ending because I thought it was so beautiful, and I just loved it. And dealing with like the show's ending and everything like that. And then I was like, well, okay, now I gotta go to sleep and go to this film premiere tomorrow. And so it was a very unique experience. And at that event, I got to go to the after party, and long story short, it was just like really cool for that to get to be my first experience. And I'm bringing this up because I made very very first like journalist friend or like colleague, at that event. Her name is Kristen Lopez. She's a dear friend of mine, and she's actually going to be my first guest. So you guys will hear from her next week. Can't wait to hear can't wait for you guys to hear our conversation. And she is an accomplished film journalist. She's written for The Wrap, for IndieWire, etc. And it was so cool to get to have her, for her to be my first guest. So that will be next week. And, following all of that, I just kept doing film reviews. I just had my 3-year anniversary of like breaking into the industry a couple months ago, And last year, I got to do some go to pretty cool events for PLC culture. I got to cover the Dune film, the new Superman film. Got to go to an event and a lot of other cool stuff. Um, so if you'd like to read that, it's over on PLC culture. But throughout the years, my favorite thing has always been interviewing. I I love getting to meet the different people within this industry from all kinds of crafts. I met so many wonderful and talented people, and it's so fascinating to hear a lot of their stories. And so, when the opportunity presented itself to create my own show here at KUCI, I was over the moon. And so, here we are. And actually, my next guest after Kristen is going to be Ron of POC Culture. So, stay tuned for that, and you're going to get to learn some more about possibly starting your own entertainment outlet if that's something you're interested in. One thing I really want to make clear, or just like kind of, I want to help people to kind of like hear all these different stories so that hopefully you feel inspired to like go for it. Because a lot of people, like for me, I always kind of wanted to break into this, and I always wanted to be a journalist, even though I didn't really have the like vocabulary for it in my head at the time. But I knew I wanted to do this. I just didn't know how. And so I kind of, through asking him, like, hey, can I do this? Can I do this? Eventually it happened. And a lot of the people I meet, I always wonder, like, hey, how did you get started? And the answer is they just started. Even if they didn't know what they were doing, they weren't very experienced, you just do the thing. And I think that's so cool. And I've definitely been guilty of like not doing the thing because I'm nervous about it, or like thinking that, oh, I don't know enough, or I don't know how. And you learn by doing, realistically. Like even with this show, like I'm learning by doing, and over time it's going to get better, and over time, you know, it'll have more of a structure. It'll be a little bit just more seasoned, more experienced. So that's kind of one thing I hope people will take away. And I did want to talk a little bit about how you can get started if you want to do some entertainment journalism or film criticism. I will say I did say earlier that I would ask Ron all the time, like, hey, can I do this? Can I do this? And I just want to clarify that, like, we were already good friends at the time. So between us, it kind of just became like a running joke where I'd be like, can I? And he's like, no. And it doesn't really sound like a joke, but it was like an inside joke. So definitely, like, don't hound someone. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. But definitely put yourself out there. Like, we live in a time where anyone can get into this, and that's a beautiful thing. Thanks to the internet, you can start a letterbox. You can even start your own blog, like on WordPress or some of the other like website hosting services. There's a lot out there. The big thing really is to just start. I'd recommend, if you want to do this, really just like, maybe you want to make an Instagram page, maybe you want to make a YouTube channel or a TikTok, or another medium I'm not even thinking of, a podcast. The important thing is find, if you want to do it, figure out how you want to do it. Maybe you want to write essays, right? And so from there, what I would recommend doing, so say you want to start doing some film criticism, what I would do, say there's a new movie, right? And you're like, ooh, I want to like talk about this. So then from there, you know, write your essay, create the content that you're looking to break into, and throw it on Instagram, throw it on TikTok, throw it on WordPress, create an essay, make a Substack, just do the thing and put it out there. And you're going to learn if you like it or not. You're going to see where you have room for improvement, because especially in the beginning, you're not going to know what you're doing, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually a beautiful thing, because months from now, maybe a year from now, maybe years from now, you're going to look back and you're going to look at the first thing you did. You're going to see how far you've come, and it's going to be a miracle to you, but you have put in the work. I've that's what happened to me. Because if you go back and read my first review, which I can't even believe I'm saying this, but my first review was of the Darth Vader series from like 2021. And when I look back on it, I'm like, I can't believe my writing used to be like this. And I don't think I'm a good writer at all. Like, I'm not saying that to like put myself down. I'm just saying like it just comes through practice. And so my advice, if you want to get into it, just practice. Start the thing. Um, I'm probably sounding like a broken record, but really, that's how you're gonna learn. And also, you can definitely improve. You can send it to friends, or like if you know anyone who's kind of like into writing, you can, or if you know anyone who's into like video editing and whatnot, you can get their expertise on that side of things, even if they're not necessarily like a film like buff or a film critic themselves. And just post it. And what I also recommend is just kind of building a sort of online community. Get to know some other people who want to do what you want to do. Get connected with them. Maybe you can collaborate, you can chat, you can just talk about movies with them. Maybe you can go on their podcast. Maybe you can write for their outlet, after you get to know them for a while. And my big thing with this though is, yes, make friends. A community is so important. But I just wanted to say, like, don't make friends just for the purpose of getting an opportunity. Like, be yourself, be genuine, connect because you love this thing. Like, you like Star Wars, or you like film, or you like whatever horror movies, whatever it is. Like, make these connections because you want to talk about these things, or you want to, write reviews about these things, right? One of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten, I've actually heard it from a couple different people. They told me, whatever you do in this industry, just be genuine, just be yourself, because that is like what shines through. And it, for this same thing, just be genuine, be yourself. And good people find good people, in my opinion. You'll find your people, and once you have like your community, it's gonna just feel amazing, honestly. And like, you can create a community like this online or in person, and I really think either can work, and it can be helpful because a lot of people focus on like upwards networking, like networking with people who are like where you want to be, or people who you think can give you a job. But it's just as important to sideways network people who are where you are, or whether they're in your specific craft or not, but people who are just like you want to break into this thing, you want to work in the film industry or whatever it is. Sideways networking is so important because for me, it wasn't until last year, which was like approaching my third year as a film journalist, where I really felt like I had an in-person community for of like friends of other journalists and such. Like, I had a lot of really good friends, but last year was when I started to hang out with them a lot more, and just having a community of like-minded people around you. It's you can't there's no like underselling that. I really think that's really important. So whatever you do, community is key, I think. And yeah, so once you start the thing, and once you build a community, the other thing that I think is important, obviously I didn't even touch on, is how to actually get started. So say you want to be like a film journalist, right? One thing I recommend first might be to write for like a fandom site. Find like a website run by fans where they write articles or like opinion pieces and things like that, to just get some bylines, some articles under your belt. Or obviously, if you've started your own blog, whatnot, that's also some writing samples you can send out. So then you can reach out to other sites to look for some like freelance work, So, and I'm hoping to have one of my good friends who is an amazing journalist. She's a freelancer. She's written for like so many outlets, and I hope to have her on soon so that we can talk a little bit more about the freelance process because I don't know too much about that. But basically, the important thing is having articles. So whether that's your own and then or like writing for like a fan site, then you can find other outlets and just I would recommend reaching out to them and just tell them about yourself, send them your links, whatever body of work you've built up at that point. But also what you can do if you're writing on your own blog, maybe you're starting your own website, you can actually find like screening groups online. And sometimes like some of the screenings that I've gone to are the same screenings that like people in those groups are going to. So a lot of times you're in the same rooms, and so you can also use that as a way to gain early access. And then, you're connecting with those people and like maybe the publicists and whatnot. And yeah, like really, the best way to start, like I said, is to start because you can get into early access screenings, cover it, send those links to those people, and just kind of go from there. And sorry if I repeated myself there. I've just had a few people ask me, like, hey, how do I get started? How do I do this? And I've always wanted to just kind of like put all of what I know out there as far as advice goes. So I really hope that this helps anyone out there who wants to get into film journalism. So if it does, feel free to let me know. I'd love to interact on social media or share some advice if you need any. Um, my social media, I can be found on all platforms at Jorgie Writes. Jorgie is spelled like Jorge with an I before the E, so Jorgie. And I'm sharing this because my next section, I wanted to try something interactive with you guys. I want to know what were your favorite films of 2024 or favorite TV shows. A couple of my favorites as far as films goes are Love Lies Bleeding, Dune, and Conclave, which you don't think those three would go together, but those are some of my favorites. There's a lot more, but Love Lies Bleeding and Conclave were films that I watched over winter break, so they're pretty fresh in my mind, and I can't stop thinking about those two in particular. Well, there we have it. Thank you so much for listening to the very first installment of Frames of Mind. I'm so excited to share with you guys the interviews I have coming up, and thank you for sticking around to the end. I can be found on all social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Jorgie Writes.